Hey YouTube, why does God allow suffering?
Why would an all-loving God allow pain and suffering? Let me break it down to you in 5 minutes or less. Bone cancer in children, worldwide war and famine, poverty, addictions, and unspeakable abuse. Is this God's fault? Who is to blame for all this calamity? And if God has the power to do anything, why doesn't he just stop it now? Let's unpack what's going on here. What if God created a perfect world where people could not choose to be evil? Where God forced everyone to only be good, and if you stepped out of line, God would just zap you and you would cease to exist. But who wants to live in a world where there's no freedom? We typically call that slavery. On the other hand, what if God created a perfect world where everyone was free to choose to follow him or not, and simply some chose not to follow him? It all boils down to the power of choice. But where did the option of evil ever come from in the first place? God created a beautiful angel named Lucifer, who was made perfect, but God allowed him to choose his own course of action. According to Ezekiel 28, it says of Lucifer, "Your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. You were blameless in your ways from the day that you were created until unrighteousness was found in you." Lucifer rejected God's holy law and thus spawned evil to erupt in the universe. War broke out in heaven, the happiest place in existence. The Bible tells us in Revelation 12 verse 9, "And the great dragon was thrown down, the serpent of old, who was called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him." So why then is there pain and suffering in our world today? When God created the world, he created it to be perfect. It was only after the devil's temptation that brought woe and misery into this perfectly created world. Adam and Eve decided not to listen to God's instruction in the garden, and ever since the human race has been engrossed in pain and misery. Simply put, sin, death, and suffering is a result of Satan working in the world and in the hearts of men, and men choosing to listen and follow the adversary and disobey God's instructions of love and selflessness. Jesus answers the question of why there's so much pain in the world in another way. In Matthew 13, Jesus explained in a parable who is the source of pain and misery. For all that God has made can only be good. Jesus describes himself as a sower of wheat, and Jesus' servants asked, "If you only sowed good wheat, why is there tares among them?" Jesus replied, "An enemy came and sowed the tares amongst the wheat." The servants asked if they should remove the tares, but Jesus replied to them, "Let them grow together until the last day, lest both be destroyed, the wheat and the tares." Jesus is the sower. Satan is the enemy. You see, God allows Satan to continue working sin for a very short while. As a result, all throughout eternity, all existence will understand just how destructive and miserable selfishness and sin truly are. The innocent that Satan causes to suffer now will have their day of restoration in the coming of Jesus. He has promised to put an end to all suffering when he comes back again to receive those who love him. Sin and its originator will be destroyed, and God will make all things new, as it says in Revelation 21 verse 4, and that he will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will be no longer any death. There will no longer be any mourning or crying or pain, and the first things have passed away. It isn't easy to accept why bad things happen to us, but God promises that all things work together for good to those that love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. Won't you trust in God's plan to put an end to suffering and hold him to that promise? The choice is yours.
Hey, I'm Denise.
And I'm Greg.
What do you think of this video? You liked it?
I thought God really led. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah, I think it was awesome. If you want to have more information, check out our website. What do we have there, Greg?
There are free Bible study guides to follow up on this information and an opportunity to subscribe to catch the next video release.
You should do it. See you in the next video.